Good morning. My name is Samuel Ibrahim, and I am your host of the Mind of the Prophet Meditation Hour. Good morning. Good morning, creation. Thank you all for joining. I've been up for a couple of hours. And I've been sitting in meditation because I've been trying to go back to sleep, actually, and have been unable. And, as I do, my mind drifts to questions that, most people typically do not ask. And, of course, I pose these questions to the Infinite Creator. And then the Infinite Creator, through creation, always sends me a way that I am able to discern their response to me, to these questions. And many times throughout the course of, the past couple of years, maybe 2.5, the Creator has been sending me images to help me understand a moment that I had. One of my first, I guess you can say, actually my very first supernatural moment that I was very keenly aware of, which happened back in November of 2019. And in this moment, what I believe I saw, it was an assignment that I did not want. I was afraid of it because the faces of the people that I saw, all faces that I had great respect for, they just flashed before my eyes, or just I just had a very vivid image. I won't say before my eyes, but in my mind I could see it. It's very present. It's a very clear image for me. And I was afraid of what I saw. And I said, I don't want it. Because I was afraid of the death that I associated with each of the individuals that I saw in that moment. And so I said, I don't want this. And I said it with great conviction that I was like, I don't want it. And over the course of these 2.5 years, as I have really been very diligent with my spoken word, finding ways to speak, and learning ways to speak, and learning to speak what feels like, I won't say feels like, to creation, in order to see the life that I want manifest, but in addition to understand the events of my life, to also now being able to ask questions and being able to just really discern the answer of what I'm hoping to understand. I'm going somewhere. So I want to pose a question to you. How do you want to die? That's my question to the listener. How do you want to die? Now, in your mind, where did you just travel to? Where did your mind just travel to with me asking you that question? In my mind, when I was having that moment, my mind went to a very painful end. And because I placed what I believe I saw happening in that image or that moment, I placed that upon myself as, I don't want that kind of death, is really what I was telling the Infinite Creator and in creation. I was saying, I don't want that kind of death. When I said I don't want it, I'm really understanding now what I was saying to creation is, I don't want that kind of death. And then subsequently, that was in November. So subsequently going to January, I wrote down how I wanted my latter days to be. I wrote it down. I have a very clear image of Not my death, but my latter days. My latter days. But the Creator and I have that secret as to how I know my end shall be. That is our secret. I'm not saying that out loud. I know what that is. And so it has given me great confidence knowing how I've seen my end be, that the circumstances of my life, although over the past couple of years have required a lot of patience, I know what my end looks like because I've seen it. So that gives me clarity in moments of uncertainty, knowing that my death is far off. I have that agreement, I believe, with the Creator, so I don't fear. So let me say that in terms to where I can make it relative to the listener. I'm not afraid of dying in a car accident. I'm not afraid of dying of a stroke. I'm not afraid of dying of a heart attack. I'm not afraid of dying any of the many ways that you see or possible that sound painful. I don't have that fear of death, of my death being lived in that condition. Okay? And so that gives me, again, great clarity in moments of uncertainty. So, also over the course of the past 2 years, I have paid closer attention to how some people died. And then I will go back and see if they prophesied their own death through their speech. And it's evident in many people. I'll give a couple of examples, and I feel like more will come to me as I talk about these two, because I've written about this on my blog. I've written about this in poems. I've talked about this with people who I've had similar discussions with, but not to the clarity that I feel like I have right now. Kobe Bryant, legend. Died young. And in an interview with Tracy McGrady, I saw that Kobe had told Tracy, and which means Kobe likely told others, that he wanted to die a legend at a young age, and he did. I will go to Nipsey Hussle. All right, Nipsey, great man, but if you listen to his music, it's not just a reflection of what he came from. Nipsey also talked about in many of his songs how he might die. So did Tupac. Biggie's albums were, his first one was entitled Ready to Die, and then he died, and then his second album title was titled Life After Death, and it was given that title before the man passed. So I'm going somewhere. Here's another person who clearly spoke his death over himself many times. Christ spoke his death over himself many times. Actually, it's the only death he talked about. He talked about his own. And because he knew how he would die, that's why he was able to walk to the cross without the fear that you see recorded, or any of the fear that's not recorded in any of the Gospels. He knew it. He spoke it over himself. What am I trying to say right now? Kobe was unaware of what he spoke, I'm sure. Nobody expected him to die, not even him. Same with Tupac, same with Nipsey, same with Biggie. They didn't realize in the words that they were speaking, they were also giving creation instructions as to how they want to die, because they had fantasized about their death in that way. So they died unexpected ways to them. Christ knew how he was going to die, and he spoke that death. And subsequently, this is what you should also know, because I've never heard this preached. In Christ talking about his own death, you also must understand that Christ was forming the situation with his own words. The power of life and death is in the tongue. So a lot of what is attributed to the folks that carry Christ away to the cross should also include Christ, in that he was the beginner. He's the one that spoke it. He didn't know exactly how it would come. He knew it was going to come. He had a feeling. I'm sure he saw it in some form, okay? And he had experienced it in some form already in his mind. Why? Because he had already talked about it. And subsequently, creation formed in that image. I'm not going to get preachy about Christ. I'm just giving you these examples to show you how creation forms the death that you imagine for yourself. So, this is a great exercise for the world. For the world. How do you want to die? How have you imagined your death to be? And I'm going to, just because of what's on television so much these days, is death. Right now, Russia has invaded the Ukraine. So much going on in the United States with the rise in crime, especially in Houston with the rise in murders. And so when you see these images of violence on TV or images of sickness on TV and all the horrific ways that you could die on television, you also impose, some people do, impose or transpose those images or the possibility of those deaths upon themselves. However, if you have clarity about the way you want to die, I believe creation now forms the infinite creator through creation form that life around you to lead you to the death that you want. So I challenge all folks that are listening, send this to a friend. How do you want to die? Not how do you think you're going to die. Not how do you think you're supposed to die because of where you came from or what your situation looks like. How do you want to die? Under what conditions? In what situation? And don't give your life fighting for a cause. That only begets more fighting. To one who has, more shall be given. So don't write your life down. Don't write your death down and give it for a cause. Fighting for a cause. Fight for your cause. Your cause is how you want to die. Fight for that one. That's the cause you fight for. Fight for the cause that you want to die for in peace. Not because you gave your life and sacrificed to something else. Don't sacrifice the way you want to die for another anything but your soul. How does your soul want to leave this planet? As most folks understand how death occurs. I challenge you. I challenge you to write down what your latter days look like in peace. Where are you? Who are you around? What love are you surrounded with? How healthy are you? How much vigor do you have in your steps, in your speech, in your thoughts? That is a better way to imagine yourself before your soul finds itself at rest enough to stay at rest, I believe. I'm going to cut this short because I feel like I've said what I need to say. And I'm thankful that I was able to communicate that in this way. So I'm going to recap. I gave examples in the beginning of this episode or towards the middle about people who had spoken their deaths over themselves unexpectedly. And then I gave the example of Christ, who did say how he would die. And in each of those instances where they spoke about their death, they subsequently gave creation instructions as to how they wanted to die And then creation did the rest. It formed creation around them in the manner that they spoke their death. So, I don't want to call this a challenge. I just want to say my request. My request of you is, how do you want to die? How do you want to be laid at peace? Don't imagine your funeral, because now you're looking at it from a third person perspective. Don't see yourself in your casket, because now you're imagining yourself in the grave and not alive. Imagine your latter days to where your soul can rest in peace. And what does that look like? And right there